stand by for action.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And I told you guys I wasn't going away. And I'm not. At this time, I'm going to do a regular Unpleasant Blind Guy show. And I am privileged to be interviewed by Kaiser Shuff of Kaiser's Castle. You can find his stuff on YouTube. He does a live feed. And everyone, please check that out. Check out his previous ones, too. This will be my third time being interviewed by Kaiser. And I'm going to have this show on as many weeks as possible so that we can have the whole thing. So let's get right into it. Kaiser, thank you very much for having me on, friend.
No problem, Dave. It's always a pleasure talking with you. I've listened to a lot of your shows. You've got a very good depth of perception on some things. And so I'll throw flowers at your channel, too, The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And Dave is anything but unpleasant. He's a good guy, and I love doing shows with him. So with that being said, what was the first topic you wanted to jump on feet first today, brother?
Well, I have to say, man, we are in serious trouble as a country. I just heard a survey, and I have to say it disturbs me. The survey involved Halloween candy. Reese's, of course, was number one, but the thing that really disturbed me was that at number 6, candy corn was paralleled in the same place with Hershey bars. Okay, candy corn isn't candy. Candy corn is a lie from the pit of hell. And I have to say, Kaiser, if we in this country equate candy corn with Hershey bars, we are in serious, serious trouble. And our greatest minds have to work on resolving these issues.
Oh, I would agree with that. The amount of nonsense we get wrapped around the axle over in America, it proves that the first world, we have to invent problems. You know what I'm saying, brother?
Absolutely. That's just a little bit of fun, though. You know, because if we don't have fun, if we don't stop to talk about the ridiculous and have a little bit of fun, then that literally our heads are going to explode. Your audience may not know. I take 3 vacations a year, and when I do that, I shut the internet off. As the only time I'm on there is to look to see if I've ordered something and if it's come in the mail. I don't even bother with social media or anything like that because otherwise I would just go insane. It really does recharge me. And I highly recommend disconnecting from the net once in a while. But let people know before you do, because the first time I did that, there were people about ready to call Burlington PD and have them come do a welfare check, because I just dropped out the first time.
Oh, yeah, it's always refreshing to get away from the internet. There's so much drama on it, so it's pointless. But, I get away from it probably once a year, and just regroup and recalculate, and I get away from it as often as I can, but I still maintain a presence, for family and friends on certain sites, but that's about it. I mean, on that, I stay away from all the other garbage, of course, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, where to start, though? I mean, we have so many issues. I know you listen to our English Defense League radio show that we did for Thursday the 10th of this month. And, we covered a few issues. We covered the impeachment madness. And, of course, we covered Syria. And we talked a little bit about the NBA and China. And we did a little bit of each of those.
Yep.
So there's just a whole lot to unpack right now.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of misidentification on who the real threats are. And China is the number one threat.
Oh, they're a big one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're the number one because they've been planning for the Chinese sun to rise now. This is their time. They've been building their navy. They're flexing their force already in Hong Kong, which is what started the whole debate within the NBA. I saw on the trades. I can't remember what program it was on, where a couple guys got a free Hong Kong, and they were wearing free Hong Kong T-shirts,
Mm-hmm.
and some basketball place and security comes over and says, "Hey, you can't fly that banner. It's our no signs thing." But they didn't expel them. They didn't tell them to take off their T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
I heard somebody say that could be litigation on them, but they didn't get kicked out. They weren't told to change their shirts. So I think that'd be gamey because they do have a no sign shirt. But I'm sure if it was a defense sign, those little things that they hold up
Oh,
at
sure. Yeah.
sports ball, they wouldn't have
Sure.
taken that. So, it's 10 one half dozen the other. Sports never really entertains me until it's college football season, and that's when I get into
there you
the
go.
swing. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'm into college football myself. I cannot watch the NFL, and with the kneeling and with the league just pandering to all that stuff. I just can't watch them anymore. But I will give you a story. This happened less than a week ago in Philadelphia, of all places. And I am going to expand a bit on this with audio on EDL Radio on Sunday. Okay. This was at a Philadelphia 76ers game. Okay. So think about the symbolism involved right there. Philadelphia is the city where the Declaration of Independence was written. It's the city where the first Congress met.
The city of brotherly love.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is the city where the birth of freedom of the United States of America happened. And at a 76ers game, they were hosting a Chinese team. An exhibition game, I'm guessing. And there were some people that went there, wearing carrying free Hong Kong signs. And they got near the Chinese bench, and they were carrying free Hong Kong signs. Security made them give up their free Hong Kong signs. And when one of them began to chant free Hong Kong, they were thrown out. And this, to me, I don't have the kind of white-hot anger that I did when I first heard about this.
Right.
Just because of the symbolism. Now I've cooled down just a bit. But really, if you think about the symbolism of this, that in that city where the birth of freedom of the United States of America occurred, this kind of thing happened to defend representatives of a country. And really, all this guy was doing was just chanting free Hong Kong. He was defending freedom, their freedom movement over there in Hong Kong.
Right.
Okay. When you think of that, and you think about China, which has, as you heard me say on EDL Radio, concentration camps, organ harvesting, they have a horrible human rights record. It just boggles the mind, and honestly, it makes me not want to not to watch an NBA game again. And I know most people don't care about that, but just people who really are in tune with the history of this country and with what that history represents.
Right.
The best of humanity. It's maddening. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to bring up the Liberty Bells there. Our first coin that was minted by it was Franklin. It had an Indian head on the front, and you know what the words were over top of it? It wasn't "In God We Trust." It said "Mind Your Business," and that's something that nobody does anymore. They want to mind your business, not their business. They don't want to mind I should be minding my business, not all into your business. And it amazes me that America has fallen, and these people that social signal and that want to act that way and think this and that, it always makes me laugh because they never act on fact, they never put context in, and this is just a way that this fast fashion, this Depeche Mode of YouTube and whatever works, the news cycle even. And they create drama for drama's sake to get headlines to try to drum up, likes and links to their channels. And, it's unnecessary. Gone are the days of a good debate. I mean, some of the best debates I've seen was back in the 80s, where, I remember one time, chairs would fly at some of them, just spirited debate, but it'd be done and over with. And, I don't know, just thoughts on that, because there's a coarsening of conversation that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And a fascistic control over it throughout academia, the media, and
oh, they're horrible, yeah.
And Hollywood's a part of the media. And look at the outrage over the Joker movie, a made-up beginning movie for Batman's nemesis.
Right.
It's just insanity.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't even seen that thing, and I don't intend to. This is this kind of self-flagellation here, by the way, Kaiser, that sometimes conservatives get into. The movie was obviously put out by a lefty, okay, and the guy said, well, you can't do comedy anymore because of political correctness. Okay, he was right about that, but the movie has a lefty message, okay, and then what happens? You have Glenn Beck come on his show and say, well, I saw that movie, and it was the greatest movie ever made. You got to go see it. No, you don't. This is the thing. If you have somebody that you oppose, don't give them oxygen. Okay, don't look at CNN. Don't look at MSNBC. Ignore them. Okay, and that's not to say that you can't have a polite disagreement with someone and debate with someone that you know. Okay, but if all they're going to do is stand there with a bullhorn and scream in your face, then it's useless. Don't waste your time. That's what I say, and don't give them any oxygen.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly, brother, on that. Anyway, so to get off on that tangent, we got there because of the Chinese thing,
right?
And the city of brotherly love, and how it is a damn shame that the city that birthed the Constitution of the United States is the city that is by vent of private corporations, and that's a whole other issue people will argue about, and it's retarded. But if you're an American company, you should have American values. But with this globalist community, they just say, oh, it's a globalist core set of values. Well, globalism is communism, just rebranded and renamed. Period.
It is. And you have, now there's an interesting way of looking at it, Kaiser. You kind of nailed it there, because what you have with globalism is the same thing you have with communism. A very few people at the top, very rich, very privileged, law can't touch them, and everybody else is a serf. And that's exactly what you have in every communist country you ever visited. In fact, I hope you'll confirm this. That's also what you have in every Middle Eastern, traditional Middle Eastern country that there is. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. For the most part, I mean, people forget that in Syria and even northern Iraq, they talk about the Kurds. Well, there's many different ideologies within the Kurds. You actually have a communist ideology. I think it's the YTT or YKT or something like that. YKK? I think that's what it is, YKK. And anyways, that branch is strictly communist. And a matter of fact, they've trained Antifa over there. A lot of people do not understand that some of the red light guys that are over there directing Antifa got their training from there.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to agree with you and say now I did acknowledge that on EDL radio when I gave my opinion about Syria. Not all Kurds are the same, just like not all Mohammedans are the same.
Right.
And we shouldn't be defending some of them.
Right.
Certainly, if the ones that Turkey evidently has a problem with are totalitarian, communist, authoritarian dirtbags. Okay, well then I honestly don't have a problem with anything happening to them. It's just the collateral damage alongside them that Turkey would do that concerns me deeply. Giving Turkey any advantage anywhere was a big concern of mine. Go ahead.
It's very problematic because with the collateral damage. But what you're looking at is nothing more than Turkey's doing what Turkey's done before. That's why that one show's called The Young Turks, the Armenian Genocide. And Turkey will do it again under this idiot that they have
Oh,
over
yeah.
there now. You know, remember, people forget, Obama said publicly on a mic that he knew was hot. He said, I talk to Erdogan often and many because he is my number one advisor on Middle East problems. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's enough to curdle your blood, especially if you know anything that Erdogan, it's the same. I call him Erdogan, but it's really the same guy. Everybody knows who we're talking about. This is the guy that said of Islam, our mosques are our barracks. The domes are our shields, the domes are our helmets, and the minarets are our spears. He's talking about a caliphate, and he's moving to make one happen. If people are concerned about ISIS trying to make a caliphate happen, there are caliphates and there are caliphates. There's always somebody that wants to be at the top, and Erdogan wants to be at the top of a caliphate. He wants that, and he's making that happen. He's been interfering in Europe, insinuating his people in Europe. As we said to reference a conversation we had before the show, Israel and Saudi and other places, they're not the only ones that have people on every continent. Turkey definitely has. And Erdogan has been using his position in NATO to prepare for his own run for a caliphate. That's something else that's concerning, especially given the close proximity of northern Syria to Israel.
Oh, well, here's the major thing people always forget. Up till World War I, there was a caliphate, and it was headed by the Turks.
Yes, it was.
And all of a sudden, after World War I, the caliphate dissolved, and then you had Ataturk come in, make his reforms, and I remember going over to Turkey back in the day, and even up till 2009, I think, was the last time I bounced through Turkey. You would see pictures of Ataturk there. Well, no, that wasn't the last time, but the last time I saw Ataturk's picture. The last time I went through there, I think it was 2012, 2013. Yeah, that was the last time I went through Turkey. And guess what? Some of the same haunts that I went to in why am I mind dumping the name of the town now? It's the airport's right there. Damn it. It's their capital city. No, it's their capital city.
Ankara.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's it, but it might be. Let me look at my passport. But
it's
anyways,
not
it matters not. Give me 1 second. But getting back to what I was saying, it was Istanbul. I just looked at my passport.
Wait a minute. Okay, now hang on a second, bro.
Yeah.
Hang on a second, Kaiser. Now, I always thought that they changed the name of the city from Istanbul to Ankara some years ago. I knew that it was the old name after Constantinople.
Right,
of course.
right.
Just like the We Are Giants thing song. But I thought they changed that name to Ankara some years ago. Did they not do that?
On the stamp in that I got from the last visit, it still says Istanbul.
Wow.
Yep. So, anywho, getting back to that, he had designs, and I believe that he had a person on the inside in the U.S., a president, that was all for the reestablishment of the caliphate. And if people disbelieve that, they have to remember that ISIS was USIS. It was funded by the damn CIA. And that's a fact. We have a good Air Force. I was talking about this last night on BZ's show. And they may burn some equipment into the ground, miss by a little bit if they're dropping you supplies. But when they were missing by grid squares and dropping arms and ammunition directly into ISIS's areas, and I think it happened 9 times that was documented by the media, and that's only what was documented by the media, then we have a problem there, right? That means that was probably a purposeful drop, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I'm the foremost expert on only one thing. My own opinion, my friend.
But
anyways,
sounds a lot like me, yeah.
Yeah, but some of the same haunts I went to in Istanbul the last time, walking down Taksim Street and all that stuff. Everybody walks down Taksim streets whenever you go down to Istanbul at night. There's like 2 million people that will walk down that street every night. And some of the same haunts I go back to all the time because they're nice places. I know that, they're not scammy. And some of those places have replaced Ataturk's picture with Erdogan's picture. Think about
that. Yeah, that's frightening. That actually is, given the history. That really is frightening because, we know what happened with the attempted coup, which I really wish had succeeded. I think there's an element in Turkey that really would like to keep that closer relationship with the West, but Erdogan has got his sights set on caliphate, and I think he's moving towards that. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but yeah.
Well, I do agree, but everybody forgets the 3 M's. There's 3 legs of the stool for a coup, okay? And without any of those 3 legs, you will fail. Money, military, and the media. If any of those are not secured at the right time and the right place for it, you will have exactly what happened to Turkey. He got to the media. He was able to say he was still alive and consolidated power. They had the money from Chulaban or whatever his name was, and they had the military on their side. But once he got to the media and the masses who are asses woke up and said, no, he's alive, we're going to... Well, guess what? Coup just failed.
Yeah, I know, and it was a damn shame. I was watching it going, okay, that's just terrible. I'm really sad to hear that. But to get to the Syria thing, now, I've heard a lot of opinion from a lot of people I respect, you included, on this. And one of the first things that I hear that I absolutely agree with is that it really is time that our young men and now young women stop dying in these, endless BS wars. Okay, that as I said on EDL radio, wind up lasting for a generation. Okay, and I absolutely agree with that. I had 2 cousins in Vietnam. One came back okay, and the other one was given a medical discharge because he caught malaria. And guess what he's still dealing with today?
Malaria.
Okay. Yeah. So, I know what some of this is like, at least from one perspective, far less than you, but at least from some perspective, I know what this is like. And I was listening to Glenn Beck today, and he was saying, well, he and his, and I think it's like, Stuber Gear, his one of his cohort sidekicks. And they were saying, oh, well, this stuff going on in Syria, it's absolutely Obama's policy, not Trump's policy. Now, I disagree with that. I think that the mess in the Middle East, not just northern Syria, goes back to Truman. Okay, and I think you understand this, where I'm going with this, but your audience doesn't. So I want to flesh this out a bit. We haven't made proper war. This country has not for almost 75 years. Once World War II was completed, we decided, along with lefties and possibly globalists too, Kaiser, that we weren't going to make real war anymore. That we weren't going to make the kind of war that won World War II. We weren't going to say, all right, we're going to go in to where these bad actors are, and we're going to wipe out completely their capability to make war. No, now we're going to make surgical war. We're going to make politically correct war. We're going to make sure that that we don't wind up bombing out an entire village because there's a terror cell there. Because that would cause too much collateral damage, and we want to be liked in the world. We want to be loved in the world. We don't want to be seen as a bully. Blah blah blah. And what did you get from that? You got Korea, where we fought them to a standstill and then went home. You got Vietnam, where we fought them to more or less a standstill and then we went home. And you got all of this mess in the Middle East where if a soldier kills an enemy in a way that is politically incorrect, he goes up on charges. That's the situation you have now. Now, I heard you taking an intake of breath, and please jump in here because I do have more to say on this.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that's the ROEs, and you can look to where it started. In all honesty, you got Brzezinski's writings. Also on the right side, why am I mind dumping that dude's name? But he was Carter's foreign advisor. That's Mika's daddy, by the way. The other guy,
Zbigniew.
It's a big, Zbig, yeah. And so this stuff is incestuous this way. But then you had the Atlantic Council, all these little think tanks come up, and it's on the neocon and the neo-progressive side. And they look at it as, and look, I'm as guilty as the next man, being a contractor. War is my profession. Okay?
Right.
This is just, that's a natural fact. Do I like it? No, I have the most disdain for it. But I do feel that the ROEs that they've put the soldiers under are pointless. They're useless. I went from seeing, let me see, in 2005 we didn't have any cameras in vehicles and stuff unless you put one in,
right,
to cover your butt.
Sure.
Now they're in even the MRAPs, the military drives, and the what the hell were they called? It's an infantry vehicle they use also over there. It's a
the Bradley?
No, they use it's a wheeled vehicle. It's Stryker, and at every gun also they have cameras. So if you do a shoot, they download that camera. And then that gets put in through what we had at Combat Outpost Talicon. This is the last time when I saw it majorly like this, on a combat outpost that was busy, so I know how the process works. Or any cameras on the base, they have different cameras. Or the Aegis itself, a Aegis is a balloon with a camera under it. They will take and upload that to go to the Pentagon for that shooting to be rendered good or bad. So you have, it's no different than being a police officer in the U.S. Yep. You've got others deciding whether your shoot was good or bad. And so if we're going to fight a war like that with our hands tied to our balls, look, it's a known fact. The GRU and the former KGB, which is now the FSB, but this is actually the SVT, their foreign service, that's who does the contracting in the Rodina in Russia. The only thing changed was initials. And in 2005, when they used to fly into Camp Delta and Al-Qut, and they would fly in the big, these big cargo planes. They'd fly them in. It would come to me. They're the biggest cargo planes on the planet. They'd fly them into that air base. The contractors coming out of there were all KGB, quote unquote GRU SVT, and that's who they were. They're strapped with all the latest in fashion of Russian equipment, and they were guarding that bird. And they were also guarding some of the equipment that they were delivering to different, because remember, that was George Bush used to call it the coalition of the willing. Well, a friend of mine, Robert Young Pelton, came up with the phrase, and we all laughed about it, but it's actually a true phrase. He's an author and whatnot, but he called it the coalition of the billing. The nations that were there all got paid by the good old USA. And that's what it's really all about, is that almighty petrodollar.
Well, that's part of it, yeah. And that was really what has kind of driven me, really since Vietnam, that we don't know how to make serious war anymore, or we don't bother to make serious war anymore. And as you say, there is money behind it. As far as just going through these perpetual wars, but In doing that, we weaken our military's morale, and we weaken our military at the same time with political correctness. There are two sets
Yep.
of physical requirements now. When a candidate goes to join the military, there's one for men and there's one for women. Now, I'm not going to say that women don't belong in the military, but I will say this, okay? I am the unpleasant blind guy. Nobody wants me flying a commercial airliner or an airliner of any other kind or driving a city bus. Now, there's a good reason for that, because I can't see to do it, okay? Not legally, anyhow. And
Right.
we need to, in my opinion, this is one of the places where we need to change, all right? In my opinion, we need to have one set of physical standards for the military that is tough, that is hard to meet. And if a woman happens to meet it, that's fine. But what I would like to see is for our enemies to soil their pants if they even think that American soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines are going to come into their area and do their business, because that will generate respect. The other thing I want to see that I think is vital and will help resolve some of these issues, like the one we're in right now with Syria. It's symbolic, but I think it's important. We need to drop the name of the Department of Defense. We need to get rid of that and go back to the War Department. And we need to concentrate our military forces on training for and prosecuting war. No more of this politically correct garbage. No more of this worrying about whether someone is gay or a transgender or any of that other nonsense. The military is not a damned Fortune 500 company, and it should never be approached that way. But that's the way we approach it now. We've been doing that for 25 years or more. It's ridiculous.
Well, I will say this on females in the military first. When I've been in, I joined in the 80s, mid 80s. There was always female MPs, and that was a good thing because they could take care and keep you from getting some woman saying you were filling them up. They could search the woman, and they could also deal with the kids. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So there is a place for females, and I'll give you a real world example in Iraq. This is 05, 06 when it was live and on fire. The military didn't have enough females that were trained to actually go out on like missions with other units, and they invented what was called the Lioness, okay? And what they did was they embedded these females in with infantry units, Marine infantry units. I know this for a fact. And what you had was they were dealing with the women and the children, okay? That is a positive, okay? But they did get extra training and whatnot before they went in. Lioness training and the Lioness, I have nothing but respect for all of them because I've met a bunch of them. My point being is that I agree with you. If you're going to a combat environment and you're going to have them angry bees, that's what I call bullets because that's what it sounds like, towel snaps flying all around you. You need to have people that actually mentally and physically can handle it. But the whole problem with the military, I agree with you, is the political correctness. But see, that started with the Frankfurt School. We can go line and verse to where all this causation happened. The Atlantic Council, all of these different quote-unquote think tanks. And they're the ones that took us from the War Department to the Department of Defense because it's kinder and more gentler and it makes us sound more humane. And we have not prosecuted a war to win. You are exactly right in that. But I also think there's a stopgap in between. We were never smart enough to actually implement it correctly. I think in 05 and 06 it started to get 03, 04, 05, 06. It started to get fixed by using contractors instead of soldiers. Here's my thinking on this. Look, you can do the same stuff for a less cost. Yeah, you pay more on the front side, but you're not paying for the medical, you're not paying for the dental, you're not paying. There's a lot of things you don't pay for when you get a contractor. They just make more money. But those, we used to laugh and joke that we were our country's scapegoat. Because there's only one person, I mentioned this on BZ's show, one person, I know the guy, who actually kept track of contractor deaths. Okay? And he goes by the name of Farrell Jundy. You can find his page. That man does Legion work, you know. We don't have a foreign legion, but we do have contractors. And deservedly, any U.S. soldier who fights under the flag for this nation and wears a uniform, it is a crisis to have one die because they are a representative of this nation. And honestly, a contractor's not. And if you want to wage effective war, we either need to get a quote-unquote foreign legion or deal in the real with what contractors truly are. And they could have taken all the ODA guys out, like they did, and replaced them with contractors, and the outcome might be different. Because all the ODA guys that were there, like Anglico, which comes out of MARSOC now, because they've put all, like, Force Reconnaissance, all of it is now in MARSOC. The aircraft traffic controllers that call in bombs from the air, Anglico calls in bombs from ships, missiles from ships. And, they could have replaced them with their same versions that they have out there in the civilian world as contractors. And the mission still would have held. But see, that's just something to where all these think tanks, they think to it to a certain degree, and then they don't follow it to the logical, what is the solution? What's that stopgap? And that is your country's plausible deniability.
Well, part of that, I think, maybe, Kaiser, is because a lot of the people in these think tanks never went to war. They never had to face an enemy with a weapon in their hand and deal with them. It's an interesting thought experiment to them, and that's part of the problem. This sort of thing does need to be kept in the hands of people who've actually had to do that sort of thing. One of the things that Robert A. Heinlein was a freak as far as his personal life goes. But he had some very good opinions regarding contractors in support positions. He felt that should happen in the military. There shouldn't be officers or other people in charge of support positions and things of that nature that don't have anything to do with shooting for a living. Okay, his view was that civilian contractors should be used for that stuff, and I think we could have saved billions over the years because he first advanced this idea in the book Starship Troopers in I think like the mid 50s. Yep. We could have saved billions at this point had we decided to do that and just concentrate on training our people to prosecute war. And I think the other thing, Kaiser, that would have kept us out of these generations-long wars would have been to prosecute war in the way we used to. And yes, that would make a lot of collateral damage, but you would also have a world where we would be respected, where some of these bad actors would not even bother raising their heads. One of the things that Sun Tzu said that was brilliant was the best way to win a war is to make sure that your enemy never fires a shot. That's what comes of being respected. You may not be loved, but at least you're respected. In 1946, we, the United States of America, were absolutely respected around the world because people looked at Dresden. That's the example I brought up yesterday on EDL radio. And they said, holy crap, if we go up against the United States of America or its allies, they're going to do this to us. And then they're going to go home and eat beefsteaks. Okay. You're absolutely right when you talk about the culture of the war professional, almost the culture of the mercenary, if you want to put it that way. All right. But that is something that needs to be changed. Because if we don't change that culture, if we don't begin, in my opinion, if we don't begin to prosecute war the way it should be prosecuted, we're going to have situations like this in Syria. And in my opinion, pulling out of northern Syria, and I'm sure we disagree here, is a mistake. Not because of the Kurds that are up there, the communist Kurds. I don't give a rat's furry behind about them, but because of the Christians and because of the proximity to Israel. What worries me is that we've dug ourselves into this mile-deep hole in the Middle East, and we may well have to redeploy and go back, if nothing else, to defend Israel or some of our other allies there, because we've handed that portion of that area over to Turkey. And as we said earlier, Turkey is the last is the last organization you want to trust with anything. And just to throw this in there, Turkey should have been kicked out of NATO years ago. I'll say that.
And that is it for this time. Next time, Part 2. Now remember, if you want to contact me with comments, questions, show suggestions, Awesome American suggestions, I'm available at UBG Contact on Twitter, or I can also be found as Dave Milner or Agador, that's Aggedor, on Mumblet, the Tea Party Community, Spreely, Minds, MeWe, or Gab. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and may your God go with you. Goodbye.
The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2019. Anno Domini. Now for Dave's Canes. Extras that help you navigate the new media world.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.